Let me tell you a scary story. It started with the gnomes. Anna had just moved into the old cottage at the edge of the woods, the one that had stood empty for years. It was charming, with ivy-covered walls and a garden overgrown with wildflowers. The only odd thing about it was the collection of garden gnomes scattered throughout the yard. There were more than she'd expected, too many in fact, each one frozen in place, with cheerful grins and bright, painted eyes. Anna found them quaint at first, a whimsical touch left behind by the previous owner. But as the days passed, they became less charming and more unsettling. One evening, while watering her plants, she noticed something strange. One of the gnomes, a short, bearded figure with a pointed red hat, seemed closer to the porch than it had been the day before. She shook off the thought, assuming she had misremembered its position. But the next day, it had moved again. And this time, it wasn't just the one. Two others had shifted positions, their painted eyes now turned toward the house, toward her. A cold unease settled over Anna, but she tried to laugh it off. "Just my imagination," she muttered, glancing nervously at the gnomes. That night, she woke to a faint tapping sound. It was rhythmic, almost like tiny footsteps on the wooden floorboards. Anna's heart raced as she sat up in bed, straining to listen. The noise was coming from outside. She cautiously pulled back the curtain, her breath catching in her throat. There, illuminated by the pale moonlight, were the gnomes. All of them, no longer scattered across the yard, but standing in a perfect line, facing her window. Their smiles seemed wider now, their eyes gleaming in the dark. Anna's hand trembled as she dropped the curtain, heart pounding in her chest. She locked the doors, bolted the windows, and tried to convince herself it was a prank. Someone was moving them as a joke. But that didn't explain the footsteps. The next morning, she found tiny footprints leading from the front porch to her bedroom window, imprinted in the soft soil. Anna packed her bags, determined to leave, but something stopped her. A sense of dread, like she was being watched. She turned slowly, her blood running cold. The gnomes had gathered around the front door, blocking her way out. Their once cheerful expressions were twisted into something darker, more sinister. She backed away, bumping into the kitchen table, knocking over a chair. A whisper filled the room, faint but unmistakable. "Stay with us." She ran to the back door, but more gnomes were there, waiting, their tiny hands raised as if to stop her. Their eyes, those horrible, unblinking eyes, followed her every move. Anna locked herself in the bathroom, heart racing, hands trembling. The tapping sound started again, louder this time, closer, and then she heard the scratching at the door. She never saw who, or what, opened it. The next morning, the neighbors found her cottage empty, the doors wide open. Her car was still in the driveway, her belongings untouched. But there was something new in the garden. Another gnome, small and grinning, standing with the others. It wore a red hat, a blue shirt, and a painted expression of frozen terror. It looked just like Anna.